Hello everyone. Welcome to the free online course on fitness and health. Before this we had Dry Needling 360, and thank you everyone who has given so much of love and adulation for Dry Needling 360. I hope you give so much of love for this course as well. I will start with the course in a minute. In the meantime, can you please say if you are online? Can you please say if you can hear me? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Hello everyone. Hello Mohini, Srishti, Sujata. Good to have you here. Yes, good evening. Good evening. Thank you. Thank you. So let us begin. Now, fitness and health is not something that is owned by physiotherapists. So I cannot claim my ownership the way I claim my ownership in core physiotherapy techniques. But as someone from the healthcare professional, I may have a few things to say or add in fitness and health, and that is my aim. My previous free online course was specifically meant for physiotherapists, but this course is free for everyone. So how does a free online course from Physilife work? I will come online as in live like this in YouTube online, YouTube live in consecutive 4 days, today being the first day, and we will discuss 5 steps to a healthy life today. Tomorrow we'll talk about what should we understand when we say fitness. Day after tomorrow we'll go into core principles of physical training, and then on the last session of this episode we'll talk about the journey of fitness, where if you are in a journey I'll talk about the vehicles, how you make the journey, and what are the traffic rules and roadblocks. I hope you enjoy this free online course. In this free online course you'll also get 4 certificates and 1 course completion certificate. You already have access to the free study material for the first session, and every day I will give you the free study material, which will go as a link in the specific groups. So how does it work? You must have gone through the study material tailored for this session. Then you are attending this lecture on YouTube, probably live, but if not, you can go through the recorded session as well, and that works as well. And then after that you'll get the quiz link in the WhatsApp groups that have been created, and you solve the quiz and immediately you'll be able to download the certificate for the session, and then you'll get a course completion certificate once you attend all the 4 sessions, and once you attend all the quizzes you'll get a final quiz. Solving that final quiz will give you a course completion certificate. So this is the way. 27th June, that is today, you are attending 5 steps to a healthy life. Tomorrow we'll talk about what is actually fitness, and then day after tomorrow we'll talk about principles of physical training. Finally, on 30th June we'll talk about the journey of fitness. Every day the sessions will be between 4 to 5 p.m. Coming to 5 steps to a healthy life, that is today's topic or today's session. Why 5 steps? Because as a general person who wants to live healthy, it's very difficult if you see the information overload that we have in today's world. You know, we have so much of blah blah, we have so much of information. Some people give honest information, other people are feeding into that billion-dollar industry that is health and wellness, and then they are trying to sell their product, sell their services, and sometimes they're making promises, or they're making kind of offers which are not going to be fruitful at all. So with this information overload, we are at a loss what to follow, how to start if I want to be healthy. and if I don't know, if healthcare is not my core domain, it's very difficult to understand what to do. Some people say do not eat fat, other people say eat this specific kind of fat, some people say eat ghee, but don't eat oil and all this kind of stuff. And also exercises. Shall we do I need a six pack? Is six pack healthy? Do I need ab crunches? Whether to do aerobic, anaerobic? So at one point of time, what happens is you and I are totally confused. So in this today's session, as a starting of your and my own fitness journey, I will try to KISS, keep it short and simple, and I will give you 5 basic steps. You can also call them as 5 cheat codes, which you can implement right here, right now, and you can live a more healthy life. That is my belief, and there is fair amount of scientific support to back up that belief. But before that, you must understand that the mind and body is connected. To illustrate that example, I usually do this lemon experiment. What do I mean by lemon experiment? This lemon which I have taken out of my refrigerator right now, imagine you have this lemon in your hand. It's cold to touch, it's very juicy. Imagine you are slicing it, making it into two halves, and imagine you are squeezing it in your tongue. Yeah? And the you can get the aroma, you can get that citrus smell of the lemon, and as it falls drop by drop in your tongue, you can actually feel that sour taste and smell filling your palate. Now if you imagine this, some of you will feel the mouth salivating. Are you feeling the saliva in your mouth? Please let me know in the comment section. Can you feel the saliva? Can you feel your mouth is getting filled with a sour taste? Many of us actually feel it, and when you feel it, knowing fully that the lemon is in my hand and not in your hand, knowing fully that the lemon is actually virtual because it is not in front of you, you're just imagining, and then also your body responds to the imaginary situation, and that is the mind body connection. That is the amazing mind body connection. Now if you are not convinced with this specific example, if you did not feel that saliva which I expected to, because this experiment is much better if you do it in person and if you do it with a closed eye. So I have one more quick trick for you. Just view the next slide. I hope I gave you a little gentle scare. So what happens is, even though you know that it's a snake, and probably you had seen this particular GIF, and probably you know that the snake is going to bite at the camera, but still what tends to happen is we get a little bit of shock or jump, and that also exemplifies that whatever is going through the to the mind, the body responds. So with that bit of introduction of the mind body connection, let me start our journey or the cheat codes to 5 simple steps. Now my step number 5 is establish a routine. It is actually easy to say, and it is everybody says that you must establish a routine. But I'm not going to talk about this from a management guru point of view. I'm going to talk about this from the point of view of a healthcare professional. Why should we establish a routine? Because we have a biological clock. What do you mean by biological clock? If you make a habit of getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning, 3, 4, 5 days, 7 days, you put alarm at 6 o'clock in the morning. This eighth day, you will get up just before the alarm rings, or you will be able to get up immediately after the alarm rings, because you have now regulated, now tuned your biological clock. Similarly, if you are habituated to eat, say 12 o'clock in the afternoon, in the noon, you will always feel hungry at 12 o'clock in the noon. That is also your, that is how the biological clock functions. Now, why this is important? Because when you tune your body to a biological clock, by the way, I think 2017 Nobel Prize on healthcare, the medical physiology, was on biological clock. And then when your body is tuned to the biological clock, it knows what to expect, when to expect it, when to expect food, when to expect sleep, when to expect physical activity. And then once you have that routine, your body does not have to surprise itself, because your body does not like surprises. I will talk about this in a little detail in the successive sections. But now, why this is important, why it is important to inform your body that at 12 o'clock every day the food will come. Because when we eat, when we have our food, before that the body needs to prepare. It's like you are having a major event, or you are having a major uh, say say work, or a milestone in your life. You have to prepare for that, right? Similarly, to have food, your body has to prepare the preheat the oven, so the digestion procedure. Now once this happens, your digestion is fantastic. Otherwise, if you eat when the body is not expecting it, your digestion is not good. Similar thing is with the sleep. When you know that you are sleeping, say 11 in the night, your body switches off the internal machines well ahead of that, so that your sleep is deep and peaceful. When I said switches off the machines, let me go a little deep into physiology for that. When we are awake, we have a certain level of stress. If you think stress as a voltage, when all the switches are off, then stress is at 0 volt. That is when you're sleeping, let us say. Now when you are awake, your body has a little bit of physiological stress, not the negative way. It is in terms of physiology, it is called as eustress. But if you forget that also, just know that a little bit of stress is necessary for you to remain awake. And when you sleep, that it goes back to 0 volt. Now when you wake up, that 0 volt, from 0 volt it has to go to say 220 volt. So that process needs some kind of stress hormone to be released in our blood. And when the body knows that you have to wake up say at 6 o'clock in the morning, just before 6 o'clock it will increase the voltage, or it will increase the stress hormones in the body. So throughout the night you have a relaxed rest, the stress hormones are minimum. Then you have a high peak of the stress hormones just before getting up. As you get up, after that it goes back down. Unless you are stressed, the way I had showed you the snake, you see the snake like that, or you have an exam, or you meet your boss and you get a deadline suddenly, then the stress hormones give some kind of jump and down. But throughout the night or throughout the day when you are not stressed, the stress hormones are down, and the stress nervous system is also down. That is how it should be. And how this biological clock is regulated? The biological clock is regulated by sunlight, and that is why exposure to sunlight is very important. So when you are establishing a routine, and when I say establish a routine, you can look at all the management books. They say that every day you should have uh, a kind of a timetable. But if you are not thinking about the timetable, You just fix three things in your routine: the sleep time, what time you go to bed, what time you wake up, number one. Number two, the food time, what time you are having your meals. And number three, what time you are doing physical activity. If you can fix these three things, your biological clock will be regulated fantastically, and the biological clock is primarily regulated by the exposure to sunlight. Probably one of the reasons also why you feel happy and energized with the sun, that's why sun shines on my shoulder makes me happy. On the other hand, when you do not have enough sunshine, in the countries or times when you do not have enough sunshine, that is why you feel sad. So all the sad songs are related to rain, Savan Vito Jai Piharva. So all this, if you're into Hindi or Urdu, you'll understand. Otherwise, just understand that sunshine or sun exposure is very important. There are certain glands, there are certain hormones in our body which regulates all this. Now, coming back to our stress, the biological clock. If your biological clock is not regulated, what tends to happen? I will tell you. But before that, understand this. If it has been studied that sleep time between 11 p.m. to 3 a.m. is very important. If you sleep between 11 p.m. to 3 a.m., your body is functioning at its best. Unfortunately, I see my students and young generations today, they sleep at 3 a.m. and then they get up at 11 p.m., 11 a.m. So what happens is their biological clock is completely upside down. So their stress hormone levels are also going haywire. So what happens when your sleep is not in time? This is the Journal of Clinical Endocrinology and Metabolism, and it says that loss of sleep and disordered sleep with decrease in slow wave sleep, which is some scientific term, serve to elevate the nocturnal stress hormone levels and contribute to heart disease. So if you want to keep your heart healthy, you must sleep in night. Otherwise, what happens? I was talking about the stress hormone. Understand this: stress and peace is regulated by two different nervous systems of the body called as sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system. People who are a little bit from the healthcare field will remember these terms. So sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous system is mutually opposing parts of autonomic nervous system. Autonomic nervous system controls our specific functions which are not under conscious control. For example, digestion is not under conscious control. Blood pressure is not under conscious control. Normal breathing is usually not under conscious control. So all these are controlled by your either sympathetic or parasympathetic nervous system. Parasympathetic nervous system is based upon rest and digest, or it functions when you are resting and when you are growing. Sympathetic nervous system is for fight and flight. That is when you are in a life threatening situation, when your survival is at a stress, at a stake. That time when you are highly stressed or when you are stressed, the sympathetic nervous system takes over. It's like the army. Parasympathetic nervous system takes care of the peace process, whereas army is sympathetic nervous system is the army. It comes during the battle. Now, when the stress hormones are high, the army is always on alert. That is the wartime. So if you establish a routine, our first cheat code or our first step to health, then you keep the army like Swiss Army. Swiss Army makes chocolate because they don't fight. So your sympathetic nervous system is more or less at rest. On the other hand, if your body does not know when are you going to get sleep, when are you going to get food, when are you going to get physical activity, when are you going to get stress, then your body is always on high alert. And that kind of suppresses all other peacetime activity. You know what happens with war, no? War means all the resources of the country are into the war. Similarly, all our bloods, the whole 5 liter of our blood will go into muscles because either I want to fight or I want to run away. So my digestion suffers, the reproduction system suffers, and all other systems are also involved or suffering when we are at stress. And if you establish a routine, you do not give the body nasty surprises, you are not at stress, then you survive and you flourish. So that is the it is ever ready. So that was the reason for our first cheat code, so that you are not always on high alert, you are not always at the starting line like this. Our next cheat code, second cheat code, if I come back from 5 to 4, is eat and drink sensibly. Again, this is no rocket science. Anybody and everybody tells you to eat and drink sensibly. But then I will tell you the reason why, the physiological reason why. What do you see here? Probably you see a bowl of soupy noodle. What if I say that your internal body looks almost like this? You have a lot of soup and you have a lot of noodle. So what does the soup uh, represent? The soup represents the water in your body. Your body is full of water. So not only the blood or the lymph, in the muscles, in the structures which are called as fascia, which is within the muscles and between the muscles, even in the bones, you have a lot of water. And for example, your muscles, now we call it as myofascia. So the muscle, the structures that actively contract a muscle, the structure that passively elongate and relax is called as elongate, and shrink is called as fascia. So they are like fibers. Now these fibers are like noodles. So when there is enough water, the fibers move very smoothly. Your muscle fibers, for example, move very smoothly like this water ballet dancers. When you have enough water, the dancers will be able to move smoothly. However, what happens when you concentrate the liquid? Initially, imagine instead of water, you put condensed milk. What will happen to them? Their movement will be very difficult. Instead of water, if you give them a gel, their activity will be very difficult. And that's what happens when we dehydrate ourselves. So it is very important to drink water. The take home message here is it is very important to drink water. Otherwise, if you take away the water, imagine this, you take away whole water out of the soup, what will be remaining? Only the noodles, like those cake in the instant noodle, or your chow mein, dry chow mein. Now how easy, how brittle they are. Similar things happens to our body when we do not have enough water. And that is why if you are dehydrated, your muscles start to ache, you do not get enough energy, your movement becomes affected, and that is why all the athletes, they they are asked to eat, and they are asked to drink a lot of fluid, and they are asked to eat a lot of hydrated food. And that is why you should drink a lot of water. Now, how much water should one drink? Can you type in the chat section? How much water do you think you should drink? Okay. It is actually alright. So let me see the responses here in the chat. If someone can comes out and tell how much water you are supposed to drink. Okay, let the responses come. While let me tell you what I asked you is a trick question. It's not how much water everyone or each one of us should drink. It depends. It's almost similar to how much money should you earn. It depends. For every person, the need is different. So how much money should you earn? It is based upon your need. The amount of money I feel satisfied with earning or you feel satisfied with earning will be different from how much money say one of the Ambanis will feel satisfied earning, or how much money I should earn, how much money Ambani should earn, how much money Bill Gates should earn will be different, how much money Bill Gates' wife will need is also different. So similarly, if you are a marathon runner, in the match day, you may need to consume after the during and after the match, you may need to consume say more than 10 liters. On the other hand, today in Bangalore, it's reasonably cloudy day, and I'm sitting at home. My water requirement will be much lesser. However, when I am comparing money with water intake, understand this: anything below 3 liters and you fall under BPL category, below poverty level. Understand this: our kidneys filter about 180 liters of blood in a day. Of course, we do not have 180 liters of blood. So what happens is the same blood gets circulated and filtered again and again and again. So at least you must give say 10 to 20% of that water that is getting circulated. Otherwise, you are squeezing your kidneys too much. You're overdriving your kidneys. Unless, of course, the doctors have told you, you have got medical advice to drink less amount of water. Sometimes your body cannot handle so much of water, so that time you need to cut down to your water intake as much as your physician has said. I'm talking about uh, a healthy person in uh, in its optimum health. So if you go back to your older generation, you ask your grandfather or grandmother how much water shall I drink, and they will say 10 to 12 glasses of water. Now here we must understand the words carefully, not 2 to 3 liters. What I'm saying, 10 to 12 glasses. Why this is important is, you will see a lot of people in and around, they will say that once you get up in the morning, drink 2 liters of water, and then my quota is full. Our body does not work in that way. Imagine your blood volume is 5 liters, and suddenly you are putting 2 liters of water in the blood volume. What is going to happen? If that 2 liter is allowed to mingle with your 5 liters of blood, that means your glucose level, which was about say 100 mg per deciliter, will come down 40% down, because you are increasing the blood volume by 40%. So suddenly your glucose level will come down, your all other levels in the blood will be, everything will be diluted. Your body does not allow it. So immediately it will start to remove that excess amount of water, and you may end up with lesser water than what you had before. So it's not 3 liters at a time. That may be beneficial to increase the intra-abdominal pressure, and it may be beneficial for you to say defecate in the morning to get the pressure. But throughout the day, you should drink that 10 to 12 glasses of water. 12 glass into 250 ml per glass comes as 3 liters again. So that was about half of it, that is, drink sensibly, and I'm talking about water. And we have discussed how much water should we drink. Now when you talk about the food, please eat the whole rainbow. Means as much color as you can incorporate in your diet. Disclaimer: I am not a dietitian, I am not even a nutritionist. What I am talking is common sense from a healthcare professional's perspective. Especially in India, we put a lot of emphasis, number one, on rice or other kind of carbohydrate items. I come from West Bengal, so we also are very fond of potato. So rest of the Indian people, like North Indians, South Indians, they kind of tease us that you eat only aloo, potato. So please incorporate as much of colors, because every color has some kind of natural chemicals which kind of replenish you. So color means nutrient when it is a natural color. Please incorporate as much of natural colored food as possible, and then I'll come to the food pyramid, but before that, have food in time. we explained the reason. It is like you are preheating the oven so that your cake becomes better, your digestion process becomes better. And then this is called as food pyramid, which means that you take maximum amount of bread and cereal because they kind of give you energy, and then you take fruits and vegetables of a little lesser quantity, but again a lot of it. On the other hand, the refined foods and milk and dairy or the non-veg foods, if you are a non-vegetarian, you take in moderation, and the sugar and salt you take minimum. However, what is interesting is from an evolutionary point of view, we have a lot of affinity towards the sugary foods. That's why all the ripe foods are red or bright yellow or those kind of colors, those end of the spectrum, and we are attracted to that. And that is why you see all the fast foods are colored either red or bright yellow or those kind of colors because they attract us. Now, why is because when the human species started, we were hunters and gatherers. Like a tiger, when it hunts, it eats what it hunts, and it does not get a food for 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 days. So he has to survive with a single meal, say once in a week. And we were not much different then when we were hunters and gatherers. And the sugar and the salt were hard to come by, and they were very highly sought after food. However, now in today's world, except sub-Saharan Africa, more people die out of overeating and obesity than hunger. So now we should take our sugary foods or salty foods in moderation. But what happens in practical is our food pyramid is upside down. So we take a lot of sugary food. We take a lot of milk and dairy and meat and fish. We take very little vegetable. And then the breads and cereals, of course, in again my part of the country, we take a lot of cereals in terms of rice or wheat, but then we do not utilize that calorie. We'll come to that. So this was the second cheat code, which is eat and drink sensibly. And what you need to do, you eat in time and loosely follow the food pyramid. The next cheat code is to move. Now, let me explain this further by the example of this gentleman. Does anybody know who is he? If you know his name, please type it in the chat box. I can tell you, he is 111 years old, 110 years old, I guess. 1911 is when he was born, and he is still alive and kicking, alive and running, more like. He is supposed to be the world record holder in marathon running. He ran his last marathon. He retired at the age of, I think, 104. He started to run marathon when he was 80 plus. And if you have not got the name yet, his name is Fauja Singh. I said he is supposed to be the world record holder for the oldest person who has run the marathon. Why the word supposed to be is because he does not have the Guinness record. Because Guinness wants the proof of birth as birth certificate. He does not have the birth certificate. He was born in Punjab in 1911. That time they were not issuing a birth certificate. So he has seen a lot, and his name is Fauja Singh. Now, it's not like Fauja Singh is 100 years plus and he is running marathon. It's the opposite way, He runs marathon, and that is why he is surviving at the age of 110. That is why he is hell and hearty, and every day he is not in competitive marathon now, but he still he ensures that he moves. And then you also have seen how Milkha Singh has survived. Just recently, last week, he unfortunately had passed away. And if you are from eastern part of India, you'll also remember Manohar Aich, who was also around 100 years, and he was the first Mr. Universe from India, also termed as Pocket Hercules. So what does this kind of say situations tell you? They tell you that people who move are healthier for prolonged amount of time. People who move are are going to live longer. And why is that? Because movement is our nature. Movement is what we are. Movement is health. But we have become this. We have become rooted. We have become trees. Not metaphorically. Science will say that the movement is essential, but because when you move, circulation happens. When you do not move, people who are from physics field, you'll understand that all our tissues are viscoelastic, and what you have is something called as thixotrophy, a property of a viscoelastic material, which means that if you keep a gel material, if you keep a semi-solid material without any mechanical movement, that will solidify. And then if you start moving that, it will form gel. It will form liquid. It will become liquid. So that thing happens when you move. So your bone and joint becomes more mobile, and then circulation happens throughout the body. You are flushed with circulation, and because movement is in our nature, your brain appreciates it, and it releases a cocktail of happy hormones, and that improves your health. It's like you buy a laptop and I buy a laptop, and you don't use the laptop for say 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 years, and every day I use the laptop. Whose laptop will boot faster? Probably mine, because I have used it. So that is what happens. Maybe the laptop example is not correct. Please forgive me. I hope you understand my point. So you must move, and all sorts of movement is good movement. What do you think about this chair? This particular chair has multiple nails in it. So if you sit on this, what is going to happen? Your bums and your back are going to be punctured with this chair. Would you like to sit in this chair? I think it will be a very painful way of dying. But what if I tell you that you and I are sitting in this chair? We are sitting, and in this lockdown, people who are working from home, I have friends and relatives who are sitting from 8 o'clock in the morning till 12 o'clock in the night in the same chair, or worse, in the bed, in the sofa. And now it has been found that the chair sitting is an independent risk factor for for diseases like heart attack, diseases like stroke in the brain, cardiovascular diseases. So you are actually sitting in this chair which is killing you slowly. It is just you and I do not recognize this. If you move, and any sort of movement is, again I'm saying, any sort of movement is fine, as long as it is not what you are doing suddenly. It is not a jerky movement. It is not creating a damage to your body. See this, among all the nature's creation, among all the God's creation, you and I, the human beings, have our ear, the shoulder, and the hip in one straight line. But with our era of mobile, there was a very, very nice picture which says reversal of evolution, that after the monkeys started to stand up, we went into the desktop and we became crouched. So it says the tagline is somewhere something has gone wrong. Now with mobile, it has got even more wrong. We are into this position where we are not any more human beings. We have become pigs, where the ear, the shoulder, and the hips are in one horizontal line. So please get out of that mobile Get out of that crouching position. If you are into mobile and if you are watching my video, you can stand up and watch. So get out of that crouched position and limit the amount of time you spend in sitting, or limit the amount of time you spend in a sedentary position. How much walk, how much run you should do. Right now you can install a step counter in your mobile, and if you are between 5,000 to 10,000 steps a day, you are moderately active. Anything below 5,000 doesn't really cut the slack, you know? So please keep on moving. If you can do that, you are buying the ticket for a long and productive life. It's not only the long life that is important, because if you spend your long life lying in bed, being dependent on others, then there is very little enjoyment for you or people around with that life. And if you have time, if you are still healthy, please start moving. Studies say that half an hour of movement every day is good enough to give you health benefits. The other thing is, any kind of movement is okay, right? Any kind of movement. Please ensure that you do not sit sedentary more than 2 hours, because then what happens is the damage is done if you are sitting more than 2 hours together. What happens with prolonged sitting? See, the moment we go into prolonged sitting, our body cannot maintain erect posture for prolonged amount of time. The muscles need rest. So slowly what happens is we start to crouch because the muscles cannot work, so our body starts to hang on the bones and joints and ligaments. So as the neck comes forward like this and this and this, a French biomechanist called Kapanji has measured what happens to the body. And because the axis of our head goes forward, the muscles in the back of our head needs to put more and more and more effort to hold the head in position. So apparently our weight of the head becomes 42 pounds, around 20 kg from the original 5 kg, which in essence mean that you and I, if we are sitting like this in front of a mobile, are carrying this 15 kg load in our head. Only thing is, these ladies are actually carrying a physical load and they are serving a purpose. We are not carrying anything, but still our body, our neck, our head is getting subjected to that kind of stress, and that's why we are getting neck pain, we are getting headaches, and we are getting all these kind of problems. So don't be a porter of your own ghost. Kindly maintain a straight erect posture and keep on moving. It also gives you all these kind of diseases are called as hypokinetic disease. If you do not move, kinesia is movement, so hypo, low, kinetic, movement, hypokinetic diseases. With that increased amount of load and poor posture, we get conditions something like upper cross syndrome or a lower cross syndrome, and low back pain and all the problem of the bone, joint and muscle. So if you can move regularly, and regularity is the key, then you will be able to live a more healthy life. The next cheat code or next step towards health is positive thinking. And again, all the babas, all the gurus, all the management people will also tell you that think positive. But my point of view, what I'm going to tell you, has nothing to do with the management, nothing to do with spirituality, nothing to do with religion. Positive thinking has its base on the physiology, its base on the science, and let me explain. We had given an introduction of what is sympathetic and what is parasympathetic. Sympathetic is the nervous system that takes care of the stress. S for stress. Parasympathetic is the part of the nervous system which is active when you are relaxing. So rest and digest. It is for P for peace. We already have discussed that. Now sympathetic is when you are stressed, when your body is at war. So as we said, during war, all other growth or economic activities stop. Only focus is in the battle. And you have always seen that in any country, in any era, wherever in the modern age, wherever there is a battle, there has been economic depression. The growth of the country has been halted. Same thing happens. Our growth of the body, as in digestion and all of the functions, are affected when you are stressed. And when you think negatively, the stress hormones increase. And that's why we talked about the mind body connection. Even if the snake is not there, looking at the snake which is bouncing on you will increase the stress hormone in your body, because your body thinks it is real. If it is real, if you think about it, we have this old example of snake rope illusion. If you recognize this rope, then you are calm and cool. But if you think that it is a snake, your heartbeat will increase, your blood pressure will increase. Now it is also interesting to know why the heartbeat increases, why the blood pressure increases. Is it because nature wants to punish you because you are in a situation like that? No, your whole process happens because it helps you to survive. For example, if it is a real snake, I need to run. Or if it is a real enemy, I need to fight. If it is a real war, now to fight I need to move. To move, what we need is blood in the muscles, glucose in the muscles, the energy, oxygen in the muscles. So I need to breathe faster. So that is why when I am stressed, when my sympathetic nervous system is at its work, so when the body is in battle, I need more glucose in the blood. I need more amount of blood in my muscles. I need more amount of oxygen, and that's why I start to breathe faster. So when you're excited, you start to breathe faster. So these are actually good things. Then why am I saying that this is not good? Why stress is not good is because when we were having real life threats in the battle, or in the prehistoric era, when the saber-toothed tiger was attacking the caveman, then his stress was physical stress. So the elevated blood pressure that was needed to give blood to the muscles, to give glucose to the muscles, to give oxygen to the muscles, was utilized. Now when my boss scolds at me, or when I'm at the traffic and someone is blocking my way, when I'm stressed, I cannot go and battle it out. So my elevated sugar is still remaining in my blood because I'm not using it. My elevated blood pressure is still remaining in my body. The muscle tension, the alertness that I've got, I have not been able to utilize it, so it will remain in my body. So over a period of time, what tends to happen is the elevated blood pressure will become the normal. The elevated blood sugar will become the normal. Now to use the muscles, to contract the muscle, you also get release of cholesterol, because cholesterol is a material which is full of energy. So all your stored cholesterols are released in the blood and new cholesterol is formed. But again, in today's real life scenario, when I want to say slap someone but I'm unable to slap him, the elevated cholesterol, or when my body does not understand the real life scenario now, no? As I showed the snake, so body does not utilize the cholesterol, so it remains in the blood. Then again, all the vital functions are suppressed. As I said, during battle time, no one puts any heed about the economy of the country. Similarly, where the blood will come from. If my muscles need more blood, the blood has to come from another segment, and usually the blood comes from the growth segments. So your reproductive system does not get blood. Not only blood, it does not get any attention. It is not the focus of the body, which is good in the short term. But in the long term, when the stress becomes chronic stress, the reproductive system is still sidelined. The digestive system is still sidelined. The formative other functions are still sidelined. And the amount of excitation that we have when you're stressed, you do not get sleep in the night, because our body does not, our body is again an old model of, say, Ford in today's world. Now the fuel has changed. Now the circumstances have changed. The traffic rules have changed. But body does not know that. The body's wirings are same. So the way caveman was guarding his children in the middle of the night, he cannot sleep. Similarly, when the stressful thoughts go on in our brain, we cannot sleep because our body is reacting in the same paleo way. And because of that, because the stress, we have aggression. We need the aggression. Otherwise, how can I fight? But then when I am unable to express the stress, the aggression remains. And our physical activity, our previous cheat code of moving, when you move, that is one way of relieving the stress or utilizing, whether you call it the aggression or the blood pressure or the blood sugar or elevated cholesterol or excitement. So this physical activity or exercise are a way to spend that amount of sugar, pressure, muscle tension, excitement and all this. And that is why physical activity is important. So why positive thinking? Because then you tell your body that okay, the glass is half full, so I should not be stressed. Doesn't mean that when there is real life threat, when it is not the rope and it is actually snake, then also you should say all is well. But it means that when one thing is mindfulness, so you know when it is an actual threat and how it is going to affect your life. But when you are in that cycle, your brain automatically picks up the negative thoughts, and then your brain kind of starts to speak to itself and creates this cycle of increased pressure, increased sugar, increased cholesterol, problem with reproductive system and all this, eventually leading you and me to an unhealthy, diseased body. Also the muscle tensions are so much and it does not get relieved, so the muscles tend to develop tightness, knots and painful structures. So with stress, what happens is the blood pressure increases, blood sugar increase. Okay, so this is the heading is wrong, sorry. So what I'm saying actually is the effects of positive thinking, and what you get is there is reduction in the blood pressure, reduction in the blood sugar, you get reduced amount of distress, you get more immunity, better immunity, you get better psychological and physical well-being. And so all are the effects, all are the opposite effects that we are supposed to have when we are relaxed, because the parasympathetic nervous system is at play. So just one moment. So what are the benefits? And these are the benefits of lowering stress or positive thinking. The benefits of positive thinking are reduction in the blood pressure, reduction in the blood sugar, reduction in the level of distress, because as I said, your parasympathetic nervous system is related to the growth and formative function. You get better immunity, you get better psychological and physical well-being. And as we established in the beginning that the mind and the body is connected. Better psychological benefits means better physiological benefits. Also because the blood pressure does not go up, because you do not get too much of cholesterol, you have reduced risk of heart diseases, and you have a better coping skill. So I'll give you two examples. First is Muhammad Ali. He started to say, I am greatest, even before he knew he was. And because he believed that, he became the greatest. Now, that was a different era. I do not remember Muhammad Ali fighting, but I remember the Indo-Pak Express. The person in the left-hand side, his name is Aizam ul Haq Qureshi. Of course, with Rohan Bopanna, they came into the finals of US Open. But this guy, who was ranked very low, in 2002 he starts to write in his diary, 1st January, that I am going to qualify for Wimbledon today. And 2nd January again, and every day he starts to write this. And guess what? He actually qualified and he played. That was the best era of his playing time. It was best performance for him. So that is the power of positive thinking, not only in your performance, but it also helps in your health. And it costs you nothing, not even a paisa, not even a dime, to think positive. Why don't we, you and me, give it a try? And finally, coming back to the first cheat code, most important is to breathe. You may again feel like, what is this? Everybody breathes, correct? And especially if you are a fan of this movie Jindagi Na Milegi Dobara, you remember that underwater Hrithik Roshan has this realization that life is actually very simple. Bas saans lete raho, keep on breathing. So you are breathing and I'm obviously breathing, that's why I'm alive and I'm talking. Then what is the big deal about breathing? The kind of breathing that I want you to breathe is called as diaphragmatic breathing, and you must breathe this, say, not more than 10 breaths in an hour. That is an optimum dosage. Understand this, most of us, over as we grow, tend to get accustomed to a breathing called as upper chest breathing, where we breathe with our upper chest. On the other hand, what nature has provided us, or if you see all other animals also, they breathe with their abdomen, so belly breathing. Now the theory of this is very simple. How to learn this breathing? Keep one hand in your chest and another hand in your abdomen, and when you breathe, this is the wrong breathing, and if this is still, and I don't know whether the image is showing my abdomen, when the abdomen goes up as you inhale, this is a diaphragmatic breathing or belly breathing. But as a physiotherapist, whenever I have taught cardiovascular conditions, cardiorespiratory conditions, whether in ICU or in OPD, I found diaphragmatic breathing, or what we say it as relaxed diaphragmatic breathing, is one of the hardest exercise to teach, because all these years we have learned to breathe in one way, which is, and then we start to, when you ask someone to deep breathe, what they do is make a snarl and use all the extra muscles, and that does not remain a diaphragmatic breathing. Why this is important, by the way? This again is based upon Boyle's law. So when you create, when you contract diaphragm, what you actually do is you press the abdominal content with your diaphragm down as the diaphragm goes down. So the pressure in the abdomen increases, and as the pressure in the abdomen increases, you create a vacuum in the chest, and because of the vacuum in the chest, the air comes from the outside through your chest. But also because our blood is a fluid, and any fluid will go from higher pressure to lower pressure. Once you do a diaphragmatic breathing, Because the abdomen pressure is high and the chest pressure is low, the blood moves from your leg, from your abdomen to the heart. So you are actually aiding to your circulation via your diaphragmatic breathing. And not only your blood circulation, your lymph circulation also improves. On the other hand, if you breathe with your chest, then the abdomen pressure does not increase sufficiently to produce this transition. And that is why when you are habituated with diaphragmatic breathing, at least a few breaths in an hour, you feel very energized, your oxygenation improves, your effort of breathing reduces, and your circulation happens fantastically. And as the circulation increases, your heart's your heart's need to contract harder to increase the blood pressure also reduces. So this is the physiology behind the one of the major kind of breathing exercise that all the yogis will tell you, all the health workers, all the breath workers will tell you. And that is why you should give diaphragmatic breathing a go. And those are the 5 steps that I wanted to talk about today. Thank you so much for being such a nice supportive audience. I will finish my talk here today. We'll see you tomorrow. Let me just go through the chat box and see if there is anything that needs my attention. Yes, good afternoon and good evening, everyone. Yeah, so many of you have felt the salivation on your mouth, and Mohini, that is because of mind body connection, because your mind is giving you the responses. Hi Chintan, getting sleep at night. If you are sleepless, give physical activity a go. Good evening everyone. What time should we take sunlight for adult as well as kids? I think I will talk about sunlight, but our previous understanding of sunlight, what it was we used to say that early morning sun is good. Not necessarily. If you can limit the duration of sun exposure, and if you can improve the amount of harsh sun in your body from the direction of vitamin D, it is better. However, when you are right after getting up in the morning, if you are in front of the sun, you are stimulating your that neurological system to work on the pineal gland and melatonin axis. So right after getting up, if you are exposing yourself to sun, then your biological clock is getting tuned. Hello everyone. Yes, Mohini, thank you so much. Yeah, 3 liter, 6 liter, according to body weight. Yes, all answers are correct. As I said, it's a trick question. It's like the BPL kind of thing. Minimum 7 glass, 8 to 4 liters. Right? Okay, so all are good. 40 gram per kg of body weight. Interesting. Is there any question that needs my attention? Is what I 8 cups based upon the size of your cup. Yeah, Fauja Singh is the correct answer. Thank you so much. All right. Thank you, everyone. It has been very entertaining for myself. I love the adulations. I love the comments that you give here. Shivoproto, it's actually very easy. You keep your chest still and you inflate your abdomen. Best done with a little bit of bending forward posture so that your abdominal content do not press forward. They kind of hang down. So that's it then. See you tomorrow. I'll assign the quiz in phase by phase, group by group. All the WhatsApp groups will get the quiz today by tonight. Thank you so much again. See you tomorrow.